Good morning, fifth graders, or afternoon, or whenever you're watching this. I thought I'd take a minute here to go over your entry document from the next project that we're going to be doing on Pluto specifically. Okay, your entry document is going to be this document here. It's linked in your agenda. You can very easily get to it. But this is an actual press release that was given to reporters immediately after the General Assembly of the International Astronomical Union in August of 2006. The reason I included this as your entry document is fairly simple. This was the date that the public learned that Pluto is no longer a planet. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through this document just really quickly because it's kind of dry and it's written for reporters, not fifth graders. So together, let's look at it. It says the first half of the closing ceremony of the 2006 International Astronomical Union, or IAU. You'll hear me and see me refer to it as the IAU probably from now on. General Assembly just concluded. The results of the resolution votes are outlined here. So this paragraph here just talks about how many people were there and what type of people were there. The International Astronomical Union, boys and girls, is a group of astronomers, cosmologists, and physicists and other space scientists that get together to kind of make the rules for everybody. That way everybody's speaking the same language and everybody agrees on things. So it looks as though, according to this paragraph, that it was an astounding success. More than 2,500 astronomers participated in 6 symposia, 17 joint discussions, 7 special sessions, and 4 special sessions. I don't know how the 7 special sessions and 4 special sessions are different, but apparently they are. New science results were vigorously discussed, new international collaborations were initiated, and plans for further facilities put forward, and much more. Now, here's where it gets important for us. It says, in addition to all the exciting astronomy discussed at the General Assembly, 6 IAU resolutions were also passed at the closing ceremony of the General Assembly. Number 1 is resolution precession theory and definition of the ecliptic. The ecliptic is the path that the sun travels through in the sky from your point of view. It's not really important to what we're doing. So we're going to skip that one. Resolution 2, supplement to the IAU 2000 resolutions on reference systems. I don't know what that means, so we're going to go ahead and skip that one too. It's not important to our project. Redefinition of barycentral dynamical time, TBD. I don't know what that is, and I've taken a lot of astronomy classes, so your guess is as good as mine. Not that important again. Endorsement of the Washington Charter for communication or communicating astronomy with the public. I don't know what that is, guys. So we're going to skip that. So really where we're going to focus is on resolution 5A and 6A. 5A is the definition of planet, and 6A is definition of Pluto class objects. So just in looking at that, you can tell that planet and Pluto class objects are 2 totally different things. So that's a little bit of foreshadowing here. Okay? So moving on, the IAU members gathered at the 2006 General Assembly and agreed that a planet is defined as a celestial body. So a celestial body, guys, is a thing in space. We can get way more complicated with the definition, but a celestial body is really just a thing in space. It is in orbit around the sun. Okay, so that's criteria number 1. In order to be a planet, it has to be in orbit around the sun. It has to have sufficient mass for its self-gravity to overcome rigid body forces so that it assumes a hydrostatic equilibrium or nearly round shape. What that means is that the gravity from this celestial body has to be strong enough and pull from all directions so that whatever object we're talking about is pretty much round. Okay, it's not going to be a perfect sphere. Even the Earth isn't a perfect sphere, but we're looking for a nearly round shape. If something isn't big enough, it won't have enough gravity to make that round shape. So far, we have to have a celestial body that's in orbit around the sun and has enough gravity so that it becomes round. And C, which is the final criteria, it has to have cleared the neighborhood around its orbit. Okay? That one's going to be the most important because moving forward, we're going to hear a lot about that. All right? The next thing we have is a paragraph that kind of describes what we just talked about. So it means that the solar system consists of 8 planets: Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. A new distinct class of objects called dwarf planets was also decided. It is agreed that planets and dwarf planets are 2 distinct classes of objects. That means that a dwarf planet can't also be a planet. They are totally different and totally distinct. There's no overlap. The first members of the dwarf planet category are Ceres, Pluto, and 2003 UB313. In an article that we'll read in one of the upcoming weeks, you'll read a lot about 2003 UB313. That's a temporary name. It was something that had been described as science only 3 years earlier. That's why it's called 2003, and this was written in 2006. It becomes the source of quite a bit of controversy, and we'll see that a little bit later. It says here, more dwarf planets are expected to be announced by the IAU in the coming months and years. Currently, a dozen candidate dwarf planets are listed on the IAU's dwarf planet watch list, which keeps changing as new objects are found and the physics of existing candidates becomes better known. Okay, so what that means, guys, is as of 2006, they had a bunch of candidates to become dwarf planets. Okay, 2006 was 14 years ago. There's probably a lot more. Okay, in fact, I know there's a lot more. As we get better technology and can see things better, we're adding more dwarf planets. Okay, but we still only have 8 true planets. So keep that in mind. A dwarf planet, or the dwarf planet Pluto, is recognized as an important prototype of a new class of trans-Neptunian objects. Trans-Neptunian objects just means they're further away from the sun than Neptune. So they're way, way out there in space. The IAU will set up a new process to name these objects. So the results, Resolution 5A, the definition of a planet was not counted but passed with a great majority. The definition of classical planet had 91 votes in favor, but many more against it, so there was no count. The definition of Pluto-class objects, I'm on Resolution 6A, was passed with 237 votes in favor and 157 against, and 17 abstentions. That just means 17 people didn't vote. And Resolution 6B, definition of Plutonian objects, was a really close vote, 183 to 186. Okay, so this is the main body of the text. This down here is more, we'll call it closing credits. Not nearly as important as this first group of paragraphs here. So I'm going to ask you to read a couple more articles this week, and one of them is going to clarify this a little bit more, and a couple others are going to give a little bit more information. There's also a video I'm going to have you watch. At the end of the week, you're going to take a quiz, and you're going to take that quiz until you get 100%. I've set it up so that you can take more than one attempt at it. Okay? So, again, this is your entry document. It's the actual press release. There's nothing concocted here. I didn't do anything other than copy and paste the link into Echo so that you could read this. Guys, take some time. Make sure you're familiar with everything. Make sure for sure, for double, triple sure, that you know the definition of a planet. This is going to become extremely important moving forward. This paragraph right here, it's really tiny, but it's really important. Those 3 criteria, those 3 things that have to be there for it to be a planet are going to be really important. Okay? So don't forget those, and those are going to feature heavily on the quiz you're going to take this week. Thank you, guys. Signing off.